What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai signing one here, bringing you another video. Today I wanted to bring you a video for about something that I haven't done in a couple months now, and that is a real talk. Yeah. So this is more, this is a very interesting one. The last one, if you guys are curious, was about Pokemon. I believe it was either the Pokemon, yeah, it was the Pokemon one, which I'm sure it will be above, probably around now. And also, you may want to check the playlist, so do that. Check the channel. So, I wanted to do this video, in this case, on our original versions of shows better. Now, you may think to yourself, what does that exactly mean? Well, as many people know, there are plenty of shows that there have been many other versions of, whether it be like ones where they completely rewrite the story, or they change characters, whether it be all the characters or maybe a couple characters or the whole cast. You never know. And sometimes they bring back the old cast, or sometimes they have like reunion episodes where like both like the newer cast and the old cast come together in some way. All that stuff happens, and there's been plenty of shows that have done that. But there's always this question that there's always this point that people always bring up: is the original better? Is like, do you always have to think that the original is better? And people always, I mean, a lot of times are just constantly saying that, oh, the original's better. This show sucks. This is a terrible show. Why would you watch this? This is awful. And personally, I want to argue with that statement, because that's not always true. When people think that a show is bad because they've had too many versions or something like that, and it's been going on for such a long time, that's just a person that just isn't interested. And that's not fair to people that actually have watched the show and are watching the new show, or watching whatever show is new or recent. And there are so many examples that I could think of, and I will probably list some of them and have images up around now anyway. So let me go on with this. There are a ton of shows, and one of the best examples that I can give you guys, and this is one that you would expect me to say right away, would be Power Rangers. Power Rangers is starting its 23rd season now, guys. 23, and I'm sure I'm going to have images right now, a lot of them, showing you guys a whole bunch of different seasons, showing you how there's a lot. And don't get me wrong, I get it. There's a lot of seasons, and you may think, oh, it's getting boring. There's things that are repetitive at times, and you see things that are similar that you've seen before. Totally understand you guys. You guys are completely right in some ways. But at the same time, clearly, if the show has lasted that long, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. That means that the show is popular. That's something that you shouldn't be complaining about. That means the show has done well. Sure, in some cases it's better if the show ends, if the show needs to end. But if it isn't needing to end, and if it's still popular and has an audience, it's a good thing. Don't mess it up. Like, don't complain. It's better to have shows that have gone on for a while that you can trust than a show that you just came into and have no idea whether or not it's going to be great or bad. Which sometimes it can be totally awful, or sometimes it can be totally awesome. You never know, guys. Another example of a show. Okay, let's think of one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, another kid's show, let's just say. But it still has an adult audience, guys. It still has an adult audience. And yet it's had so many different versions now. Both movie form and, on top of that, TV shows. So many of them. Different types, different seasons, so much. Tons and tons of episodes for that. And it's still popular. And there's toys being made, and it's done up well, and people love it. And it's a great thing. It's a really, really popular franchise, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, awesome. And that's another one. It's still popular. It's still going strong. There's no reason to stop it. It's gonna keep going. Unless there's some reason why it shouldn't go. And even if they have a screw up here and there, it still has done well. Sure, Next Mutation was not the best, but you know what? They learned from their mistakes, and they went past that, and they have gone on to do so many other shows since Next Mutation. For those that think, oh, Next Mutation sucked, or it was awful. I disagree. It was not the greatest show, but it was a learning experience. That's my opinion. Sure, Peter Laird and the other creator, I'm forgetting his name right now. You get the point, though. The two of them, the two creators of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, still, to this day, don't really think about that show positively and like basically forget about it. But at the same time, they still learned. They learned from their mistakes. They know better now. Another example. Let's do an anime, guys. Here we go. Why don't we talk about Dragon Ball? Really popular, right, guys? Well, let's think here. We have a bunch of Dragon Ball series. The original, Dragon Ball Kai, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super. I mean, yeah. Dragon Ball Super. And that is a lot. And then you got movies. There's so many movies. And that's true. And that's so true. I mean, I first mentioned Power Rangers. They've had 2 movies and they're making a 3rd one. And they were going to make a 3rd one way back when. But clearly, it's a popular show. Because if they make movies, that means something, guys. Just saying. When people think that the original of something isn't necessarily the best, you can't necessarily assume that. And people think, and I understand that you can have your own opinions, and I completely am in support of that. But at the same time, guys, please understand this now. There are fan bases. There are people that come into the shows in the later versions, and they become new fans. They could be really young, or they could be really old. And I'm just talking about kids shows here. I mean, we can go into like, you know, shows that like have older audiences. The show Heroes, if you've ever watched it, they've had Heroes, the original. They've had Heroes. They've had the new Heroes show that came out recently. That's a big deal. That's a show that adults and some kids even watch. Believe me, I've watched it. It's a good show, and it's for an older audience, but it's still popular, and it's bringing back new fans. No, it's bringing in new fans, and it's bringing back those fans that watched the original and loved it. Or people that didn't like it, and maybe are trying it again with this newer version and this new cast that might have some cameos from old cast members. It's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Another anime, let's say Naruto. Sure, Naruto hasn't been the best with Naruto Shippuden, but it had a good story when it was going to have a story. Sure, it's had a lot of filler recently, and it's not been the greatest it should be, and I totally am in support of that. But people can remember the past, and people can remember what has been good about Shippuden. And people who think, oh, Shippuden sucks, it should end it now. They've had over 400 and something episodes now. There's no reason to end it if it still has an audience, guys. I get that the fillers suck. Like, they do. They're not fun. They're not fun to watch filler after filler now. It's terrible. It's terrible. And it's boring as ever. And people want to see the story progress, even though the manga has ended. But at the same time, guys, they do what they do. And though in some cases the original can be thought of as better, it's not always the case. There are shows that have done better in some ways that don't necessarily mean that the original was better. I personally say that because a lot of the shows that I'm referring to, I don't necessarily like all the original ones more so than like all the other ones that they've had after it. I mean, I probably like a lot of these shows, but do I like them more so? Not always. Another example. Okay, let's talk about a show that is an interesting one. Yu-Gi-Oh! Why not? Yu-Gi-Oh! Okay? Yu-Gi-Oh! Same idea. Yu-Gi-Oh's had 5 different series now? Pretty popular. Pretty big deal, right? Had different versions of characters, brought back characters, had its own movie, more than once, I believe. Yeah, like at least 2 or 3 now. That's a lot of movies. That's a good thing. And they're making another movie, by the way, if you don't know. They're making another movie. It's coming out April in Japan. Just saying. I mean, sure, the original is wonderful, but I will admit that the other versions are pretty good. And that's the thing. People have to remember that the original is not always better. There are those instances where the newer versions are actually better than the older ones. A great example of another an anime that's so popular now, super popular, and has been popular for years. And this is one that that doesn't necessarily change the cast at all. Full Metal Alchemist. There's been the original, and there's been Brotherhood. Brotherhood is loved over the original. That's an excellent example. Yeah, it is. Because you want to know something? It's popular, it's loved, and it's a good show. And it's a fun show that has been successful and has continued to be successful in its lifetime. And even today, even though the show has already ended and it's been gone for years now, years and years, it's still a popular anime that people go back to and watch, even though it's been over for years. But it's still popular. And it's still an anime that's like highly, highly regarded as being a wonderful, wonderful anime. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty more, guys, but we don't have to go on forever. There's Digimon, which I'm sure some of you guys have watched before. You've most likely watched the original, but there's been like, I don't even know now. There's been at least like 5 or 6 different series, I believe, if not more by now. And they've even done like this recent like bringing back the old cast anime thing. You know, Digimon Adventures Try, which was this very new thing that they're doing like 6 episodes of or something like that, and they're bringing back the original cast. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal that they're bringing back the original cast because they're trying to bring back that old fan base. And I get that. And bring back an original cast is fine. It's perfectly fine, and it's good to flash back to the past. And that's one of the fun things also. You get to see the new cast and the old cast. That's great. That's great when you see that kind of stuff in shows. And that's special. That's fun. It's special. It's interesting. It's really important. Another example, I can think of 2 right here. Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. Again, same idea. I've had so many seasons now. Kamen Rider, 45. Super Sentai, it's going to be on its 40th in February. That's a lot of seasons, guys. 45th and 40th? Yeah. That's like the biggest example I can give you guys. And yet it's still going strong. And when people say, oh, they should end it because it's been going on for so long, or it's getting boring and super repetitive, and the ideas have been done before, it's hard to do it when you've done like so many series, guys. I mean, I'm not going to do the typical like argument that people will make, like, oh, well, let's see you do better. Like, that's the worst thing to ever say to any of you guys that like complain like that. It's the worst. You don't say that. And I'll admit that. Like, you don't say that. Because it's dumb. Because you know that, like, when you say that, people are just going to look at you like, well, yeah, I can't do that. But whatever. I mean, and that's the point. Not everyone can do what they can do. But at the same time, I appreciate the fact that it sometimes people don't like things. And that's totally fine, guys. If you dislike something, if it's awful, it's terrible, it's the worst thing that you think ever, like if you dislike all these shows that I've listened to, and even ones I didn't listen, because like believe me, there are plenty of shows that have gone on to do other things, and there have been shows that have been made based off of other shows. Great example, Family Guy. Family Guy's had the Cleveland show, which didn't last long, but it still was around for a good couple of seasons actually. American Dad was a thing, Simpsons, and then Futurama. I mean, that whole entire group of shows that came as a result of like one another. Like Simpsons resulted in Futurama. Family Guy resulted in Cleveland show. You know, I mean, there's an audience there, guys. There is something going on, and it's always important to remember that just because the original may be looked at more highly a lot of times doesn't necessarily mean that the newer versions are bad. It's just that they may not be looked at as positively by certain people. So important, guys. I just want you to understand that. I know that plenty of you guys probably have heard this before and know this, but I just thought, you know what? Let's do a real talk, guys. Let's talk it out. Let's see what's going on. I would love to know what your guys' opinions are of all this. What show do you like better than the original that you've watched? I would love to know, because believe me, there's a lot of shows that I can think of that I like better than the original. At the same time, I still love the original. I still remember the original for being great. Another example, I just remember Doctor Who. Let's go with that. Doctor Who has had like a ton of doctors, right? I've never even watched the show, and I know that Doctor Who's had so many different doctors, right? Am I wrong? No, I know I'm right, because I believe it. I know I am right, and Doctor Who is still going strong. Just saying, guys. For all you Doctor Who fans out there, yeah, I'm looking at you guys out there, those Doctor Who fans. Yeah, I haven't even watched the show personally, and people, if you recommend it for me, I totally get that. And would I watch it? Maybe. I have friends who watch it, and they've totally told me that's a good show. But I'm just saying, guys, that I know there are doctors that people love that are original and old, and they're popular, guys. Just wanted to remind you guys. So just please in the comments below, I'd love to know what shows you guys can think of that you think are better than the original, or even what your opinion of this whole thing is. Like, do you agree with me? Do you think that certain things are better or worse? How do you guys look at this? Do you treat it like it's a true statement? Do you think that some of these points are totally realistic? What do you guys think? And what shows do you guys want that have already been done now, but have never made another version of themselves? I would love to know that as well, because believe me, there are shows that have existed, and some of them are gone, and some of them haven't been gone. But maybe you guys have some ideas, because I would love to know what ideas would you like to see that, like, maybe they've never created a show version of before, and you guys are like, I would love them to do this and have the lead character be focused on this person. You never know. You never know what will happen, guys. Believe me, you never know. I can think of so many more again, and I just remembered another one, and another one, and another one right now, but I'm going to stop this video now. I want to say it. I'll say it really quickly. Avatar and Batman. They had so many different shows. Okay, and Spider-Man. Done. And Iron Man. Done. So many shows, guys. So many shows. Okay, we're done. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video, guys. So, bye-bye.